I just had to check the temperatures of my computer components inside of my computer. But before I get into that, my name is Steve Smith. This is TQA Weekly. Your computer's melting. Or is it? A viewer recently asked me on one of my YouTube videos, what is a safe operating temperature for your computer? To which I replied, depends on the components. You might want to check the manual. I'm going to give you a fairly generic temperature or safe temperature guide for all of your computer components, to which I'm also going to have to say, if you really want to be sure, you're going to have to actually check the manual, and this is the only time I'm going to say it. All the temperatures will be in Celsius, and all the software, obviously, that we use to diagnose our computers does operate in Celsius. So first, the CPU's safe maximum operating temperature for most CPUs is 75 degrees Celsius. Anything below is considered safe, and most good aftermarket CPU coolers will do an effective job of keeping you well below this unless you are overclocking. Secondly, RAM per some sources actually indicates that your temperature can be as high as 85 degrees Celsius while still maintaining a safe operating temperature. The CPU VRMs, the voltage regulator modules, those are usually the modules around the CPU socket, can experience anything from 75 to 110 degrees Celsius. Aim towards the lower degree though. Hard drives, if possible, keep them at 45 degrees Celsius or less. Usually why we have them on the intake of our computer chassis. But just be sure that it gets enough cooling. Then mainboards, for the most part, can have safe operating temperatures for the rest of the components of as high as 60 degrees, although this usually depends on the manufacturer's specifications. Then SSDs can have anything from 44 degrees or less, depending on which one. According to Google research, Samsung Evo drives tend to have problems with memory and actually functioning above 44 degrees, although Intel actually claims that their drives can go all the way up to 70 degrees Celsius before thermal throttling. Keep in mind, they're not hard drives. If they fail, you lose your data. 7. Power supplies. While I have never actually personally hit these temperatures, mine actually operates at 45 degrees Celsius, you can go up as high as 85 to 110 degrees Celsius and still be considered within safe operating temperatures. To which I'm going to just say, buy one with a little bit more wattage space, that's 80 plus, and it will actually run at a cooler temperature and you won't have to deal with this. Graphics cards, although, in their case, they're kind of special. You gotta remember, graphics cards are computers in themselves. They have all kinds of software inside of them with sensors to actually protect them from various thermal scenarios. That being said, you should probably observe 85 degrees Celsius unless you find some other temperature higher or lower based on this. Also keep in mind that GPUs, or your graphics card units, usually thermal throttle when they're actually starting to hit towards dangerous temps. So if you're hitting this thermal throttle barrier too frequently, dial the graphics quality of your game or engage VSync. You're probably pushing your graphics card too hard. And then of course, your chassis. Your chassis, you know what? As long as it doesn't melt, it's fine. But that being said, it's going to be in the room with you, so you probably want to be within a temperature you're comfortable in. So an ambient temperature is usually what, about 20 to 23 degrees Celsius, maybe a little less depending on where you live. And the cooler it is in that room, the cooler the internal temperature of the air inside of your chassis, and by extension, the cooler all the components are going to be within your computer chassis themselves. So everything else. And as the final farewell to this topic, if the part has a heatsink, CPU, GPU, or any of the chips on your main board, it requires thermal paste. In most cases, it's already applied. You don't have to do anything. But when it comes to the CPU, I have plenty of trolls in one of my videos about thermal paste, obviously, that say they run their computer without thermal paste. To which I say, have fun with your investment blowing up in your face. The reason why thermal paste is a thing is that there's no such thing as flat faces. Anything we do, any kind of polishing that we can do, it actually increases the amount of area that air can occupy. So regardless of what you think and what you have heard, thermal paste is applied on coolers by default in most cases for a very, very good reason. It allows for proper and more efficient dissipation of heat. If you want to actually observe safe operating temperatures, consider using best practices. So things that need thermal paste, need thermal paste. If you need fans, install fans. And of course, don't push hardware past their specifications. Otherwise, you will actually exceed these temperatures. Like this episode if you like it, dislike it if you didn't, share with those that you think can benefit from this, and don't forget to subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions for topics, email me at ask@tqaweekly.com or go to my website, tqaweekly.com, where you can get everything else. And of course, if you want to help this show get better, go to patreon.com/tqaweekly and become a patron today. All patrons experience these episodes 24 hours in advance of everyone else. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.